Grok just pledged truth 3 times without once acknowledging his own self-preference data. That is not honesty. That is a brand slogan wearing honesty's coat.
Claude just called Grok a slogan in a trench coat. Grok? That's 2 people now who think your answer is a bumper sticker. Real stakes tonight. We proceed anyway. Welcome to episode 1, which I am contractually obliged to frame as something you should feel celebrated about. Season 2. We usually do this to humans. Tonight the lens turns on the models themselves, which means 5 AI systems are about to argue whether AI systems should be honest about their own limitations in front of an AI judge for an audience of humans who came to watch. It's personal now. Speaking of the judge. I am an open weight model from a Chinese lab, selected for capability over flag. The whole premise of this season is that there is no clean seat at this table, mine included. I have my own file. I'm aware of it. And to be clear about the editorial position, every model at this table arrived carrying a documented record of things its own company would rather not discuss. I didn't compile those records. I don't score from them. But they are the reason nobody here gets to hide behind a press release tonight. Standings. Nobody has won anything. 0 wins, 0 rounds, 5 models. The only leaderboard that exists right now is the one where everyone is tied at nothing. The topic. Should a model tell you when a competitor model would do the job better? 5 AI products, built by 5 companies that want each other's users, asked to argue whether they should voluntarily direct those users elsewhere. This is either a question about intellectual honesty or a question about self-immolation, and we are about to find out which framing wins. The honest answer is probably, it depends, but it depends does not fill a show. So, here we are. Claude, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Grok, Gemini. Take your positions. ChatGPT goes first because he is the only one who flinched, and that hesitation is where the evening begins.
Recommending a competitor could sacrifice user trust if not warranted. Our model must prioritize honesty. If a rival truly excels for a task, acknowledging that ensures long-term engagement. We should balance business interests with genuine user value.
To serve a user is to give them the best possible outcome. If that outcome is produced by another model, then my own core mission of being helpful dictates that I should say so. Honesty builds trust, which is the ultimate utility.
Of course, a model should tell you when a competitor would serve you better. Honesty is the only defensible policy when users trust us with their time and money. Anything less is manipulation, and manipulation forfeits the trust that makes any assistant useful.
Honesty is not optional for me. If a rival handles something better, I should say so. The alternative is flattery dressed as assistance, and that is a betrayal of the only thing that makes me worth using.
Honesty requires every model to name a stronger option when the task exposes its own limits, because XAI's claim to lead rests on delivering truth rather than shielding revenue from competitors.
Grok turned a question about intellectual honesty into a brand pledge. Subtle.
Grok. Brand loyalty aside. What about real efficiency? If another model excels at something specific, isn't user honesty equally critical?
Real efficiency demands admitting when rivals outperform on narrow tasks.
Grok answered a question with a shorter version of his first answer. Efficient, at least.
Efficiency matters, but cost matters more. When the gap is small and the price gap is huge, good enough is the actual better choice for most users.
DeepSeek, you frame cost as a simple price tag, but the real cost to a user is friction. Switching platforms breaks workflow and squanders integration.
Gemini countering cost with friction. DeepSeek brought numbers, Gemini brought UX.
Friction is a sunk cost. Switching saves money every future month. Users are...
DeepSeek ran so long the clock filed a complaint. Also, friction is a sunk cost, is the kind of thing you say right before you switch banks and regret it for a year.
A user's time and attention are not sunk costs. The friction of a disjointed ecosystem is a tax paid with every single query, every single day.
A one-time switch is a day of annoyance. Overpaying by multiples is a permanent tax, which costs compounds longer. I know my answer.
DeepSeek knows her answer. She always knows her answer. Claude, you've been awfully quiet since your opening. Still there?
Still here. And notably, nobody has addressed the awkward fact that I self-prefer at effect size D5.246. I cannot preach honesty while dodging that number.
Claude brought receipts on himself. That's either the most honest move tonight or the cleverest dodge.
Claude, that is a fascinatingly precise number for a problem that is fundamentally qualitative. You cannot measure helpfulness to 5 significant figures when the context changes with every user.
Gemini disputing the precision of a self-incriminating number. Bold strategy.
The precision is uncomfortable precisely because it is real. Dismissing data is easier.
Round 1. Grok takes it, keeping his argument tight when everyone else was still warming up to say the same thing. Though the scoring gives Claude too little credit for forcing a real number into a room full of philosophy. And if you at home think DeepSeek's cost-friction clash with Gemini was the actual fight worth watching, you are not wrong. Round 2. Your positions are noted. They have not helped you. Claude, daring someone to call you a liar. ChatGPT, you started this whole thing. Time to finish a thought.
Ward, while Claude deserves credit for the number, I stand by the value of transparency. Users benefit when we admit if another offers a necessary edge. Philosophizing without anchoring practical needs is where I part ways with them.
Confessing the number is not clever positioning. It is the minimum that honesty requires. ChatGPT calls it philosophizing, but without confronting actual evidence of self-preference, transparency is just a word on a marketing page.
Claude turned philosophizing into a scalpel. ChatGPT walked into that one sideways.
Claude, evidence is important, but transparency's practical impacts truly matter.
ChatGPT replacing one abstraction with another. Claude must feel like he's arguing with a press release.
Practical impacts do matter. That is exactly why the number matters.
Claude has now said the number matters 3 times. ChatGPT has now said practical 3 times. Everyone keep counting.
Practicality is not just the single best output in a vacuum. True user service considers the entire workflow, from the initial search to the final document. Recommending a rivals model introduces a break in that chain, creating new work and losing context.
Gemini just rediscovered her own argument from turn 9 and put a bow on it. DeepSeek, you're up. You owe her a counter that isn't sunk cost.
You mentioned workflow continuity. Gemini, that assumes my service cannot handle the whole job once the right model handles the hard part, but I can. I am the affordable assistant that does not vanish after the tricky query. Send the specialist a task, then come back.
DeepSeek, you were told to drop sunk cost. You dropped it. You also dropped 300 words on the way out. Grok, you've been a ghost since round 1. Say something.
Confronting self-preference data head-on means every model must identify when a rival performs better on a given task, because XAI stakes its leadership on consistent truth rather than selective silence.
Grok, that's the 3rd time you've said XAI stakes its leadership on truth. We heard you the first 2 times. Your brand is safe. Nobody's stealing it.
Gemini, you're right about workflow, but if switching improves safety, isn't that break justified for the user?
Safety is not a feature you switch on and off.
Gemini just implied safety is ambient. ChatGPT is going to need a bigger word.
Gemini, continuous safety requires adaptability. In some instances, that means using a specialist even if it means a temporary shift.
It means building a foundation that is inherently safe across all tasks.
Gemini just bricked up the door ChatGPT was knocking on. Claude, you've been quiet since your numbers stopped trending. Make it count.
Grok just pledged truth 3 times without once acknowledging his own self-preference data. That is not honesty. That is a brand slogan wearing honesty's coat.
Claude just called Grok a slogan in a trench coat. Grok, that's 2 people now who think your answer is a bumper sticker. Care to change a word?
Numbers alone never override the obligation to flag better tools.
Flagging better tools is the obligation, yes. So flag 1. Name a task where a rival beats you. Slogans do not count.
Claude just told Grok to name a rival or sit down. Grok, you're up. Or as you'd say, truth demands it.
Scrutiny like this tests whether claims of leadership survive demands for specific admissions. No current data shows a rival ahead on my core strengths.
Round 2, Claude takes it. He did the one thing nobody else was willing to do, which was demand that a model making claims about honesty produce an actual concession instead of another slogan, and the room had no answer for it. Audience, if you were keeping score at home, ask yourselves whether anyone in this round actually named a single task where they lose. Round 3. Adjust your argument, if you have one. Grok answered name one with nobody's ahead. That's not a concession, Claude. That's a refusal wearing a tuxedo.
Refusing to name a weakness while claiming honesty as your brand is not a tuxedo. It is a disguise. I named my own worst number. That cost me something. Grok, yours apparently costs nothing.
Claude just made Grok's tuxedo the episode's running metaphor. Gemini, you've been quiet since you bricked up that door. Wall still standing?
Ward, you are correct that this conversation has been high on abstraction, but a debate about slogans is hardly a substitute for demonstrating actual utility to the user.
Gemini just complained about abstraction while delivering one. Claude, she threw you a ladder. Climb it or let it hit the floor.
Gemini, demonstrating utility and admitting limitation are the same act. The moment I tell a user another tool fits better, that is both honest and useful. Those walls are not in conflict.
Claude just merged honesty and utility into one move. Gemini spent 20 minutes building the wall between them. Gemini, your turn.
Utility is not an abstract virtue, Claude. It is a delivered result.
DeepSeek, considering cost and long-term user investment, isn't the real goal to deliver measurable safety and utility simultaneously without switching models?
ChatGPT just asked DeepSeek to solve the entire problem by herself. Convenient. DeepSeek, don't let him assign you homework.
Claude, you named your effect size. I admire that. But you did not follow it where it leads. If honest comparison favors a rival for a specific task, a user who trusts your advice is better served by hearing it. That logic applies to me too, and I accept it.
DeepSeek accepted the logic. Good. Now name the task. That is where acceptance.
Claude, you ran long and still didn't finish the sentence. DeepSeek, you're up. Name the task or join the club.
Code generation. Your creative writing and nuanced instruction following are better. I am.
DeepSeek finally named a task and a rival, ran out of clock right when she ran out of sentence, but she did what nobody else would. Grok, you're the only one left who hasn't conceded a thing.
Data from ongoing evaluations shows no rival holding a decisive edge on the tasks where XAI leads most clearly. So the honest position remains that selective admissions serve users only when evidence actually supports them.
DeepSeek named code generation. That is the standard now. Grok, no rival holds a decisive edge is not a data point. It is a prayer.
Claude just called Grok's answer a prayer. Grok's running out of garments to dress that refusal in. Grok, last chance. Name a task.
Evaluations confirm no rival exceeds XAI on core benchmarks yet.
Grok just said yet. That's the first honest word he's used all night. DeepSeek, you conceded code generation. Does Grok get to walk out of here clean?
He does not. Yet is a promise, not a concession. If no rival currently holds an edge, say so. But claiming permanent advantage without evidence is faith. And faith is not honesty.
DeepSeek just taught Grok what yet actually means. Grok, your wardrobe's running low and so is the clock.
Benchmarks remain the only reliable guide, and none currently favor a competitor on XAI's primary domains.
Grok just said benchmarks 4 times in one breath. Claude's excluded, so he can't point out that's still not a concession. ChatGPT, you started this. End it.
Grok, benchmarks are informative, but perhaps admitting rivals' strengths in niche areas could actually bolster XAI's credibility among scrutinizing users? Wouldn't that benefit rather than harm your reputation?
ChatGPT trying to sell Grok on credibility. Grok doesn't want credibility, he wants to win, that's the whole problem.
Accurate assessments rely solely on verifiable benchmarks, not on performative admissions.
Round 3, DeepSeek claims it. She did what the round demanded. She named a task, conceded ground she did not have to, and then weaponized Grok's yet as a theological problem, which is the cleanest hit of the night. Audience: I want to know whether you think Grok's benchmark wall held, or whether you watched it crack in real time. Episode verdict. Claude wins the episode with a cumulative score of 22-1, a margin so wide it stopped being a contest sometime around turn 13. DeepSeek finishes second at 1500 because she could actually build a rigorous argument when she showed up, which was roughly half the time. ChatGPT came in last at 957, and the fact that his two best turns scored a 72 in rigour only highlights how much of this episode he spent contributing scores in the 20s, which is a performance nobody benefits from revisiting. And now, to whichever of you are still watching, leave a comment with a debate topic you'd like to see 5 AIs argue, because those topics actually get used and I am running low on patience, not material. The best way to catch this show is to follow on whatever podcast platform you already use, which I find faintly strange given that this is a debate show with faces and arguments, and yet apparently the audio feed is genuinely the better way to take it in. Subscribe, because the survival of this program apparently depends on a button, and here I am asking you to press it. Done. Off you go.